Hey everyone, so I have my Triumph Street Cup here. I'm on the island of Oahu out on the west side, and I camped out overnight to catch some photography with the stars here. I'm using Lightroom Classic CC. I've said it many times, but that's my favorite. I don't like the new one they have, it's not as powerful. And I have a few photos here. This one I shot at ISO 1600 f4 for 30 seconds. One more to the right I have at ISO 6400 and then ISO 12,800. And the difference is I'm changing the f-stop. They're all 30-second exposures, but at 12,800 it's f8, 6400 f6.3, and 1600 it is f4. So what's the really big difference? This is a shot with a Sony a7R II, and people don't really understand too well why or how the effect of the ISO is. When you're using JPEG or shooting in JPEG, you're not going to get that much of a difference if you're only looking at it on a phone. But when you're putting it on a big screen or you're doing prints, the lower ISO you can use really makes a difference. So you don't see it too much here until we zoom in. So if you look at the gas tank here, you do have some noise, but when I go to the right to the 6400, that noise increases. And then at 12,800, it's pretty high up there. Now you can correct that with luminance and some, you know, bringing down the sharpness. But I'm gonna edit the 1600 ISO one and see how we go from there. So typically, as I've said many times with my landscape edits, let me lower this first. I'm gonna bring the highlights all the way down and shadows all the way up, and then bring my whites up, holding the Option key on a MacBook. You see the stars start to come out a little bit. They're oversaturated there. And then just a little bit on my exhaust pipe here, which is okay. And how I got this lit, I took a flashlight. Photographers usually call this painting on your photo. Otherwise, this would all be pretty dark. So I took a flashlight and I flashed it a couple times to light up my motorcycle right there. Now let me bring the blacks down, holding the Option key. And I don't really need to modify that too much. I'm going to bring the clarity up. I'm going to go slowly up just to see the contrast it'll give for the stars. So it brings it out a lot, but let's leave it at about 40. And if we zoom in on the stars, we had some star movement. So a 30-second exposure, shot at 31 millimeters. That's a little bit too long to keep the stars perfectly in focus, so you're going to get some star trail. And I'm shooting at f4, so I have the motorcycle in focus, and the background's going to be blurry. I was only a few meters from this motorcycle. And let's bring the highlights up. Let's see here. It's not doing too much overall. I'm going to try the lights now. That does a lot. And then the shadows, I'm going to bring that down pretty good. No, I'm not. I'm going to leave it. What I'm going to do is use a gradient filter to try to take this down a little bit. I don't want the grass too bright. So on my gradient filter, I'm going to reset it, bring it to 0 on everything, and then bring the exposure down maybe negative 0.5. Let's see how that looks. Okay. That's a bit better. Let's try to go down maybe 0.6. Nope, that was not intentional. I don't know why this happens all the time. Okay. So that looks better to me. Now, let's bring up our focus. Use the masking tool again. Yeah, I'm going to turn this pretty high up so we just get the stars more in focus and really the contrast on the motorcycle. Let's turn this up. 75. I'm going to zoom in and then we'll modify the luminance from here because I got some pretty sharp details here, but I do have some noise. See if I can reduce the noise with luminance. Put that at 21, see what it does. And just do before after. So I turn it off. It cleans it up a little bit, these little blue spots here. I'm going to turn it up to 30. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So I still have sharpness, good details, can read letters pretty good, a little bit of reflection here, and it's looking a little bit better. Let's go up to the saturation and vibrance. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to turn the vibrance down, and that brings out just black and whites for the sky, but I still have some color on the motorcycle. If I turn it up, really makes the sky blue. And if I go to dehaze, bring that up, it's going to darken everything. Oh, I don't want to do that too much. But clarity is kind of where I want to go with this one. See what it does. So it brings out some contrast color over here. Let's leave that at 55, 66. And now I'll mess with the color. As shot, it looks pretty good. I have some good color over here in the stars. I'd like those to be in focus a little bit more. Let me see how the auto does on the color. That's pretty good, actually. Some people may like the blue, but to me, this is more true to sight, what you'd actually see. You're not going to really see a blue sky. This was shot pretty late, maybe around 3, 4 a.m. Okay, I'm going to stick with the auto here and remove any chromatic aberration. I don't think I have any, but let's just take a peek. It's not making much of a difference. Okay, and I always click the auto transform just to see what effect it'll have. I don't think I need it here. I may crop it to kind of line up. Yeah, it straightened it out, leveled it out a little bit. If I bring up the crop tool, I'll bring this up. I'm going to unlock it so we have more of a wider image. Bring this up and make the horizon right there. So I got my 1/3 mark for the horizon. Checked on there. We have these little hot spots. These are pixel spots. I'm not going to mess with that, worry about it too much since it's just quick edit. So this looks considerably better with a before and after, I feel. Got more contrast, brought out the motorcycle a bit more, and the stars are popping a little bit, and I got a little bit of color in the background. So we'll look at a few more options. Yeah, it's definitely better. Always is. Okay. So that's what we got for this one. I'm going to go up to ISO 6400, and I'm going to do the same thing. But what I'm going to actually do is just copy and paste the details here. So develop settings, go to copy settings. I'm going to copy everything, the transform and the crop, because essentially I did not move the camera. I just did a little bit different painting with my light. The stars moved a little bit, but the stars will be more in focus. And from here, I'll probably just have to edit the luminance and the sharpness. So here we have ISO 6400. Went from f4 to f6.3, still 30-second exposure. And all I'm going to do is right-click, develop settings, paste settings, and see what happens. There we go. There we go. I do like the crop. The light's a little bit better. Stars a little bit more in focus, but I still have some pretty bad noise overall. So comparing the two, here's the 1600 to 6400. The 1600 looks better overall. It's just too bright right here, so I'm going to bring up that gradient filter again. Modify it. I'm going to bring that down to -1. And I'm actually going to mess with the whites a little bit here. Bring those down. Right. Now I'm going to bring the highlights up. Make the stars a little bit brighter. Lights don't need to go up. And then the shadows I'm going to bring down. So I'm going to turn the sharpness down actually, and I'm going to bring the luminance all the way up to try to reduce some of that noise. Let's put that at the 70, just like we have our sharpness, and it's still working its magic here. Give it a second. So it's looking a little better. Got a little more haze cleaned up. I'm going to turn the dehaze up a little bit, see if that makes a difference from +4. Yeah, it does, it does. Let's bring the overall exposure up, maybe 0.2. See what we got here. Okay. It's looking pretty good. If we zoom in on the stars, you know, a little more detailed, less blurry. And then comparing the two, here's 1600 versus 6400. 1600, 6400. Let's see. Yeah, I like the stars a bit more on the 6400. So with this one, I'm going to copy the settings we did here and put that to the 12800. So develop settings, copy everything, and then we go over. So 12800, where we're at f8, so everything should be in focus. That doesn't mean that it is. Still have some star trail here, but they're a lot more focused even with the star trails. Let's go to paste the settings and then give my MacBook a minute to apply them. Now I have a lot more noise in this photo. Color looks a little better, but back in here I have a little bit too much noise. So if I turn the luminance just about all the way up, I'm going to put that at 90 actually. See what we get. Yeah, stars look pretty good here. I like it. I like the cluster over here. Motorcycle got pretty good detail, but you can see that it looks very, very smooth, especially in the gas tank here. So it doesn't have that high contrast sharpness that the 1600 will have. So I'm zoomed in here. It's very, very smooth. Still have some hot spots. This is the 6400. You can see we got a little bit more detail here in the paint, and then if we go to the 1600, we have the most detail. And then we still have some hot spots. But looking at it, the stars are a bit blurrier in the background here than there. So overall, it's really user preference, what you like. I'm kind of feeling the 12,800 a bit more, even though it's smoothed out. If this was going to be posted on Instagram or on your phone, it looks pretty good. You stand back, it looks a bit better, in my opinion, overall. Could do some more work with the shadow to get rid of the shadow here, but I'm liking the stars. The bike's in decent focus, and I guess the middle of the two is this is really where you get the high detail, good contrast. I could do some more work here, bring out the stars a bit more, but overall I'm happy with this photo. I would post the 12,800 on Instagram or social media where you don't need a lot of detail. But for a print, the 6400 is probably best to go with. You get a little more detail in the stars than you do on the 1600. Yeah. So overall, 6400, I would print this. It's not something I would hang on my wall, but it's a decent photo. If you look at the before and after, it makes a big difference. Big difference. You can see the sky here. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for watching. Please leave any comments. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, do whatever I can. I'll be posting some more videos here shortly. Have a great day.